Welcome to the Richmond Leadership Lab, featuring business and nonprofit leaders across Richmond, Virginia. Produced and hosted by Filmspire and Ben X.
Welcome to episode 8 of the Richmond Leadership Lab podcast. I'm one of the co-hosts, Christian Mosier.
I'm Taylor Quinn.
And we are excited to bring to you today a special guest, Brian Anderson, CEO of ChamberRVA. Brian, thanks so much for having.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Being on the. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Exactly. We're happy to have you. Yeah, thanks for doing this. We're excited to kind of get in and learn about not just the chamber and leadership, but just getting to know you, Brian, and kind of your story and your background and things like that. We were talking about golf handicaps beforehand, which was great. Mm-hmm. So that was a good time. But why don't you tell us, Brian, about yourself? Like, where did you grow up? Like, tell us about your family. How did you get into this whole world of, chamber and stuff like that? So start from the beginning, from the early days of Brian. Paint us a picture.
Giving all the changes, it might take a couple hours, but we'll do the short version of a really interesting career. And I wouldn't really trade anything. There's been some times that you kind of like, what was I doing? But it's the path I took got me to where I am at, which is interesting. I grew up in Florence, South Carolina, a small town, railroad town right on I-95 and I-20 in South Carolina. Got a big family. Mom and dad both had 11 siblings, so I've got like 50 cousins. My wife said in high school she never could talk about me because she might run across a cousin she didn't know I had. But big family. But yeah, our family's a little small. We've got 2 children, a son and a daughter. Heather and I have been married 38 years next month. So long time, high school sweethearts, and I say I got her to buy in early so that she couldn't change her mind. And we've had a really good life. But growing up in Florence, I knew I probably wasn't going to stay there. I was a little more adventuresome, so went to a small college, now University Francis Marion, in Florence because that's what I could afford. And got a great education. I think I started 1,000 students. By the time I graduated, we're 4,000, and they've kind of peaked at 4,000. But it was a great education that helped me kind of see the world quickly. I had small classes, great professors, got to know all of them. And then I chose ROTC in my second year, mainly because I could get a scholarship from the Army. They were giving out some scholarships, and I wanted to serve. So it was an easy way to do 2 things. ROTC probably taught me as much about leadership early as is my fraternity. As I've done anything in business, it was a good foundation. But that led me to 1 term in the Army. I went active duty for one tour. I was an intelligence officer, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Didn't want to go be a counterintelligence agent, which was what my was going to have to do if I stayed.
Those movies are awesome, though.
They are good movies, and it would be exciting life. But my next tour after Texas was going to be Korea without my wife for 2 years, and I said I didn't really get married to be not together. So we chose that it was time for me to get out, and I knew I was going to go into business at some point. I didn't know what kind or how. My father-in-law had been in Coca-Cola production for probably 20 years at that time. So I got a couple interviews and ended up going into the bottling side of Coca-Cola. Did that for 5 years. Knew I wanted to get into more branding and marketing, so I got lucky. They were hiring some bottling people into the parent company. And I did that for 5 years and really loved marketing, loved branding. I was a district manager, so I got to work with bottlers and customers on our marketing programs. Probably should have stayed in the sense of a long, great company, but Coca-Cola was going through a lot of changes. And a former customer of mine got into the beer business. It was an Anheuser-Busch distributor. He said, "I'm going to need a future owner, somebody to follow me." And I went, ownership sounds exciting. But it wasn't fun work. I didn't like the distribution side of beverages. But I did it for 8 years. I was bored at one point, so I ran for office, which was always a thing I wanted to do. Got elected at age 33, don't know how, but ran a county government for 4 years. That also taught me about leadership and government and that interaction between local government and business. And all of that eventually got me to my first chamber because when the wholesaler sold without me becoming an owner, it was either go back to Coca-Cola, go to some other consumer goods company, and I didn't want to do that. They want to move. And so the chamber came open, and as an elected official, I was on the search committee for one meeting. And then the board chair called me later and said, "Hey, we need you to get off the search committee." I went, "Did I make somebody mad? What's going on here?" And he said, "No, we think you are to put your name in the hat." And I said, "Chamber? I I know what a chamber is, but I don't know what a chamber does." Which is interesting because this, here is 18 years in the business. My mother doesn't know what I do for a living. My brother-in-law has been in business 30 years. He don't even know what a chamber is. So we still got some work to do to teach people about what chambers do. But I got my first opportunity to run a chamber in Dalton, Georgia. Small chamber, community about 100,000 people. Ran it for 8 years. But it was wonderful. It was big enough that I had staff to learn from, small enough that we really could be impactful, but it also was in trouble. And so I had to learn quickly to turn it around, and that really just gave me a great foundation for what's now led to 18 years in the industry. 8 years at that chamber, then got recruited to go to Columbus, Georgia, where I thought I'd finished my career. It's a military town, small town, 300,000 people. Decent industry. Got to do economic development in chamber as I did in Dalton, and was doing all that kind of work and was enjoying life and kind of putting down roots when Richmond called. And I thought the headhunter just needed somebody to round out his slate, somebody out of state and make it look good like a national search. But I realized there wasn't as much. There are not as many big chambers in Virginia, so there wasn't a lot of depth. I think there ended up being 3 or 4 finalists, all from out of state, which was interesting. And I got lucky to be chosen, and wouldn't change anything about the opportunity here. Richmond's a really great place. When I got here, I knew there was stuff that we needed to do. COVID kind of helped us all look at ourselves deeper and harder and say, we've got all these assets. Why aren't we winning more? And now we're on that upward swing of kind of deploying our assets a lot better so that we are becoming I'd say a national entity. We've risen in every survey. We've always been on fun lists like, great place for restaurants or great place for retirees or outdoor.
Right.
But now we're getting into where businesses and CEOs are thinking, if I was going to invest, would I consider Richmond? And we're on that list a lot more too. You add the Diamond District, you add the new ball field, the new convention hotel, CoStar, the amphitheater. Our assets are just unbelievable, and they're just getting better. So we're on that upward swing that I hope we can control it, but we might be the dog that called the car.
Yeah.
So that's my career in the background, but it's been great.
You went over so much, like 1,000 cousins, small town.
There's 1,000 people where I grew up.
ROTC, almost in the CIA, local elected official, and then Coca-Cola. Like that's wild.
It's been interesting, and again, my father probably said after my when I left the beer business, he said, "I'm not sure you can keep a job if you're really that good." And I said, "Well, Dad, maybe a little bit of both. I like variety, and I don't believe I would be where I'm at had I not taken that sort of circuitous path of a lot of different things.
Right.
Nobody goes to school to be a chamber president. Nobody really goes to school to work for a chamber. We've got employees that, psychology majors and economics majors and history majors. And you come to the chamber because you want to serve. You're not sure really what you're serving or how you're serving, but you want to serve the community or serve the region in our case. We work for the entire region of 9 localities, which is different. My first 2 chambers were community chambers. We had one city or one county, one mayor, one group of elected officials. Here I've got 9 sets, 9 school boards, 9 county supervisors, 9 city council groups. The regional chambers, again, the bigger you get, our mission's different as well because we work on everything from advocacy all the way to networking, what Chamber's been doing for 500 years. So, it's been a long and an interesting career, but I wouldn't trade anything. I get bored easy, so I love the fact that my day is typically got 4 or 5 elements every day. I don't do just one thing. I may be doing government at 9 o'clock. I may be doing workforce at noon, and I may be doing a networking event at 5.
Yeah.
I like that variety because it keeps things interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is maybe why you don't like practice for golf. Is that right?
Probably. It was time. I mean, if I was
it's repetitive. And
I'm just exactly.
It's just
I'm
the
just
grind.
I like to just go compete.
Yeah.
And to sit down and
hear
just
you.
hit 100 wedge shots is
Yeah.
not going to be not going to be in my future.
Yeah. Real quick, I was curious, your dad, what did he do at Coca-Cola? How long was he
My
there?
father-in-law. My
Your
dad worked for the
father-
Postal Service.
Okay.
My dad, he started at Durham Coke as like an HR manager.
Okay.
Just kind of, I got out of coaching and he was a history teacher. And then he ended up being like the sales manager for Durham Coke. And he got fortunate. A group of bottlers built a cannery in Bishopville, South Carolina, 16 miles from Florence, that basically canned Coke products for 12 or 13 states. So he would, rather than putting in a canning line on every small bottling company in the Southeast, he built one big one, and he got to be the general manager.
Wow.
He ran that for probably 20 years,
Wow.
and that's why my wife came to Florence, and
Yeah.
we met in high school.
And you said your father did what? What did he
He was
do?
a post office, basically sorted the mail at night. Ran
Wow.
night shift for 37 years.
So that's so funny that
Wow.
like your father-in-law and then your father, like probably the same thing, like just one career path the whole time, and yet yours kind of took different routes and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the generation change, and now
Yeah.
mine probably seems to be. I still stayed too long compared to those coming out of school.
Now
No,
it's
they're going to
2
change
years
6
and-
months.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
making a change, but I stayed 4, 5, 6, 8 years at all the different places, and the best thing is I was able to learn and take things from those opportunities.
Yeah.
What I liked, what I didn't like. I mean, some of the workforce stuff we're doing now is we got to help our young people see, taste, and touch more things before they have to make real decisions like I'm going to take a pathway in medical when
Like
I'm 11th
graduate
grader.
school or
Well, graduate school, or even again, get deeper into middle school and high school.
Okay.
That they're understanding. An example: I was a laborer in construction for when I was 16. Hardest summer of my life of just hauling cement and busting whatever. And because I did that part of it, I didn't consider construction as another path. But I love to see I tell my friends in construction, y'all go home every night and see something you built during the day. I go home and go, what did I do all day? Because it's hard to see my work versus if you're an architect or a builder or build a car or whatever.
Right.
So I think getting people to understand what do you like. I did my first 6 months in Coca-Cola was a general manager trainee. I did production. And I said, there's no way I can sit in a plant all day and watch machines run. But some people, that's exactly what they want to do. Right. So finding what you like and dislike as early as possible, I think helps people then be more successful. Then I'm going to go down this path. It still may vary a little bit. You could start out in construction as an estimator, where you're just simply pricing out the product, and then decide one day I really want to be a superintendent and see a project come out of the ground. You're still in the same industry, but you did a couple different paths. But knowing that saves a lot of time.
because it's tough to know what you like without trying it.
That's right.
Like, for example, when I graduated, I tried everything, construction to recruiting to sales. Because you really don't know until you actually do it every day.
That's right.
And feel like, hey, this is what I'm good at. This is what I enjoy doing. Like, what you said about no one comes out of school wants to be a chamber, employee or president. No one comes out of school wants to do, employee benefits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you didn't do that, how would we as companies do our job better when we don't have experts like you?
Exactly.
I don't have to worry about what my employees get because I can call an expert, a consultant. Say, you need to listen to these guys. We're going to provide you the benefits we can, but you need to listen to all the options.
Yeah, exactly. And you grow up, you don't even know that's an industry. You don't even know chamber's a thing. You don't even know.
Right.
I'm sure everyone knows what videographers are at this point. But
Exactly.
Till AI
it's a video
replaces us,
world.
yeah. No, dude, they'll never replace your mind.
No, thank you, Christian. You mentioned you went to a small college. Did you like that experience? Was that good for you? And were there lessons you learned from being in a smaller? Because I went to Christopher Newport University, so 5,000 undergrad. Small. I knew my professors very well. Knew a lot of people there. Tight knit community. Was that a similar experience for you?
Yes, and again, I would not trade it. As much as I wanted to go to the University of South Carolina, I've been a Gamecock fan my whole life.
Yeah.
I just couldn't figure out. My parents didn't know how to help me with college, so I had to do it all on my own. And I didn't understand you could borrow money. I didn't know, so I literally, I think I applied to Francis Marion maybe the last month of high school. I don't remember when, and they said you got to come in July and go through orientation. I showed up and I had a credit card. I've been working since I was 14, and I paid my first semester dues on a credit card, $426 if I remember correctly. Still lived at home. And so that at least got me started. Then I figured out the rest because nobody could really advise me. So I think we need to do a better job with young people too on that regard. Is you don't have to go to college. You don't have to do this.
Right.
Here's what you can do. What do you want to do? And we can show you a path. So yes, I knew every professor. Matter of fact, I majored in economics, not because I just loved economics, but I had Dr. Reinhardt, and the first paper I wrote, he gave me an A, and I thought that was a pretty weak paper, and he gave me an A. I'm going to take him every time, and I did. I think I took 6 courses with him. I had a great history professor, Dr. Stooks. ROTC, again, gave me a chance to not only learn about Army and leadership. I got to lead my peers, which is one of the hardest things that you'll do in leadership. When I had 5 fraternity brothers also in the ROTC company, and I was a company commander. So they might give me grief at the fraternity house at 5 o'clock, but Wednesday afternoons they had to listen to whatever order I gave.
Yeah.
Brian's in charge now. Yeah, the tables have turned. Yeah,
throw your hat at him.
Start yelling at him.
Exactly. But it gives you that confidence it's sort of a leadership lab. I like it gave me a chance to try things and learn without there being a whole lot of failure worry because I couldn't fail too much. Right. Same thing with fraternity. I mean, you got to. I remember arguing one night in a meeting about you should have to have a 2.5 GPA if you're going to come to the social events. That seemed reasonable to me because I was a pretty good student, but half our brothers weren't at 2.5, and they were like, you're going to cut me out of everything I joined the fraternity for. So that kind of thing, I think, again, whether it be through arts and culture, things you can do at school, sports, there's a lot of ways young people can sample what they might want to do with life so they make better decisions. But if they don't do anything, and that's a concern of kind of this digital world we live in, if your son or daughter spends all their time on an iPad or their phone, probably not going to get that experience to know I can do this when I'm 18, 22, 24. And then the flip side of that is even if you are outgoing, but you're in a situation, socioeconomic or otherwise, that you don't get the exposure that we all had, you also don't know how big the world is. And so to me, the work we do is very important with partners that we help every young person have a full opportunity to do whatever they can do.
Yeah, that's a perfect transition to ChamberRVA and what officially you all do. So let's spend a few minutes talking about officially ChamberRVA, and then after that, I want to ask some leadership lessons as well. And on the ChamberRVA side, why don't at first just give like a 30,000-foot view of what you all do? Because I think a lot of people also get confused. Like, well, there's also the Chesterfield Chamber, and there's also this chamber. And so why don't you give a 30,000-foot view, and then we can go from there.
So community chambers, Chesterfield, Hanover, and the like, and the first 2 I was able to lead, are always involved with how do we support our business membership, but also businesses at large. We're no different. We just do it at the regional level. So we are our mission is to be the trusted voice of modern business, and our vision is to be the change agents, rallying every day to do the hard things that create a more connected, prosperous, healthy, and equitable community. The vision's a little long for me, but we chose words deliberately that we've got to help make sure Richmond is moving where it needs to, so that everybody has an opportunity. So trusted. I mean, think right now, how many institutions are not trusted at all? From Congress to even the media has gotten scores below 50% now as far as being trusted. Business still gets 60, 70% ratings on that. So being a trusted voice is important to us. Secondly, a change agent. How do we, challenge those things that aren't working and build things that can work? So we do all that work through really 4 pillars right now. One is advocacy, which chambers have been doing for, again, hundreds of years. How do you work with local government, state government, federal government, so that policies and procedures and legislation are as pro-business as possible? And we do that every day. One day it might be a local issue where it be like zoning. The next day it might be a right-to-work issue, which is very important in the state of Virginia. And then federal, it could be healthcare benefits. We also continue to network and convene people deliberately. And again, in our case, as a regional chamber, we work hard to make sure, regardless of what type of member you are, I'm a small, architectural firm. I'm a large employer. we have ways that your members, your employees, your leadership can come together, get to know their other peers in that same space, or just build more relationships so they can do work together. Could be a supplier and a procurement relationship. So we do a lot of events, 180 last year, if I remember correctly, to bring people together so they have that ability to exchange. More recently are our two pillars that are not universal as far as all chambers do this. A lot of them are involved with workforce and talent right now because it's a very hot topic. We're going deeper. We're trying to convene in a way that business is at the center of the solution, and then all the rest of us, K-12, universities, for-profit trainers, whoever can train employees and potential employees for the openings that are there. And then lastly, it's a focus on economic mobility, which also came out of the pandemic. We knew going into the pandemic we had people missing out on the opportunity they should have, but it became very even more so seeing what happens when you're in a pandemic and people lose their jobs, can't go to work, can't do whatever. So we've been working on how can we as a chamber, partnering with other entities, make sure that no matter what zip code you're born in, no matter what quality of life you're born in, you've got a chance to move up economically. And that's not always the case. There's some people that are in their fourth and fifth generation impoverished. We need to break that and make a chance so that their children have a chance to do the same things that my children have a chance to do. So those four things kind of sum up. So my day can be, meeting with the mayor on issues, specifically related to Richmond. It can be also meeting with one of the counties about things directly involved in that county. Or it can be a regional focus like water, like roads, like economic mobility. So our team is divided in a way to support those four pillars. And again, we are a small team, but we do a lot. We have 12 employees, and we are overprescribed on a daily basis. Yeah. But that's good and fun, but it's also stressful. Yeah. But it's fun work in the sense we can look back on at the end of the year and say we had a role in that. Mm-hmm. We at least got that conversation started, or that initiative is happening because of something we did. Mm-hmm.
So you're like ChamberRVA, your role is obviously different than a community chamber.
Correct.
So you all are essentially partnering with the other community chambers.
Absolutely, as much as we can.
Yeah.
So then that's it. The other difference is they're a little more retail focused. So a community chamber can serve anything from a car dealership to a florist to a law firm. We are more probably non-retail because we don't do as many events that are just about passing out business cards. We work with more professional companies, architects, lawyers, large employers like advanced manufacturing, healthcare. So again, non-retail, but focused on the needs they have a little more complex.
Mm-hmm. I know BenX, we're obviously members of ChamberRVA, and it's been cool to see what you all have done, even on our side, like the healthcare benefits and stuff. We have a few clients that obviously utilize the Wise Choice and the healthcare benefits. So it's been cool to see the growth in that, and just the growth I feel like in the Richmond community in the last few years.
Yeah, and healthcare is, we had a forum last week with two healthcare leaders, a small business owner over enhanced premium tax credits, which when I first got the email, I'm like, okay, I'm not even sure what that is. But once I got into the look into it, it's going to affect 300,000 people in Virginia that could see their health premiums double because the federal government chose not to reauthorize a credit.
So yeah,
that's critical.
We can get deep into that.
Yeah,
we won't on this podcast.
But it's important
I can get really deep in the weeds.
Yeah.
We'll talk afterwards.
We'll be right back after this short message.
Are employee benefits a headache for your company? At BenX, we simplify benefits so you can focus on growing your business. From custom benefit solutions to cutting-edge technology, we make it easy for companies to take care of their teams. Visit benxconsulting.com to see how we can simplify benefits for your growing company.
Your story is powerful, but is it reaching the right audience? At FilmSpire, we create compelling videos and provide marketing strategies to make sure they drive real results. From crafting your message to amplifying it, we help you connect with your audience like never before. Ready to inspire? Let's tell your story. And now, back to the show.
There's definitely going to be some changes in the way the United States, the healthcare system operates starting January 1st.
Yep.
You're going to see a lot of need and increased need, even more so than today, of small businesses needing to offer competitive coverage because the premium tax credit is increasing by 30% or 50% or people that are getting insurance privately, it's about to get a lot more expensive.
Yeah. But take that a little further. Even if it's just those 300,000, or if you could say just those, if those 300,000 choose not to have health care because they can't afford it, they start going to the emergency room for their primary care. All of that causes the whole system to become more expensive. So even my 12 employees who are not on the marketplace exchange, we've got the usual health plan, our rates are going to go up too. So a young lady asked a very good question. She says, seems like we were moving a step forward over the last few years, and now we may go backwards even beyond where we were 6, 7, 8 years ago. And so if you're a young family, healthcare is if you're in any family, healthcare is critical. And if you can't provide that in a way that people can support themselves, all kind of things happen.
Yeah.
So
that's why programs like Wise Choice,
absolutely,
and better program, and they're coming out with more cost-effective alternative options too. But yeah, more programs like that, I think, is in everyone's best interest.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
I don't know if we bored people with health insurance or scared them to death with this.
It was only 3 minutes. We could talk the whole podcast about it, but no, I mean it's. I think everything works out in the end. It's just a lot of. It's been a lot of changes, and COVID obviously impacted that a big because all of a sudden, you start throwing money at a lot of people during COVID in many different aspects, right? Whether it's just bonuses or stipends, or whether it's tax credits or. So it's interesting for sure.
But if you add that, that's just one, facet of adding up the whole, conditions facing a family. Now add to it the housing issue, which is you just can't build out of a high demand, low supply environment very quickly. So we're going to be dealing with that for a while.
Yeah.
Add to that inflation we dealt with pretty severely 4 or 5 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, and now it's down, but it's got a chance to go back up. And then a third, if you're a young family, childcare. I mean, my wife stayed home until our children were school age so that we wouldn't have to deal with that, even though we probably could have afforded it then versus now. But an infant now costs $1,000 a month for childcare. I don't know how. That's something that used to be a mortgage payment, no longer.
I got 2.
You got a couple of those?
Yeah.
So how do we, again, build more supply, more facilities so that there's not this competition for slots, but then add to it the workforce. You got to have workforce talent in those centers that can earn a wage that they can live on, and $9 an hour is not going to cut it. So there's a lot of complex parts to that, but again, we as a chamber with a lot of the partners have to figure out how can we work on those in a way we become a little more competitive versus Charlotte and Nashville and Austin or anywhere else somebody wants to go, because you can live anywhere. I mean, this is a very mobile society. Yeah. I'm shocked sometimes when some people choose to stay in a place there are no opportunities, because you can find a way to move to a place where there are opportunities. And we as a society may have to help with that as well. But how do you make Richmond more affordable and accessible for all?
I know you all obviously have a few different pillars and a few different priorities. What is something or 1 or 2 priorities that really either, I'm not going to say keeps you up at night, but really is taking a big focus of yours looking towards the next 12, 18, 24 months?
Yeah, the 3 things I just mentioned, because they're long-term solutions. You can't build enough houses quickly to get the price point where it needs to be. And you think, okay, well, that's just the complexity of building. Well, it also gets, if you don't have enough zoned property that developers can affordably build on, that also becomes an issue. Interest rates, which again, I don't think are going to come down severely very soon. So again, a young family's paying 30% premium versus 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So the house price being up is one thing, but then add all. So how do we have, again, a competitive region that we want? If you come here to go to University of Richmond or VCU or Norfolk State or Old Dominion, wherever, we want you to stay here. But if we're not competitive, and right now it's a lot easier, believe it or not, as much as congestion is in Atlanta, it's more affordable in Atlanta depending on where you live. You can't live inside the Beltway, but you can live in Roswell and Marietta and out on the southern side of Atlanta. much more affordably than Richmond. So we've got to work on our competitive nature every single day if we want to keep people here and we want to grow.
Yeah.
Now, the flip side of that is we have a chance at some hyper growth with all the amenities that have been already here. We have a beautiful place anyway. Add the things we've added. We could continue to recruit from places more expensive than us in a way that, again, creates competition for resources for those that are already here. So that if you move here from Chicago, you can probably pay cash for a house. If you move here from Atlanta, you can't afford the house. So we've got to find that equilibrium sooner rather than later if we want to be the kind of place we all want it to be.
Brian, in your tenure at the Chamber, is there a significant event or thing that you accomplished that you really stands out from like a leadership standpoint that you're really proud of that you guys have accomplished at the Chamber?
A couple. The first is specific to the Chamber is we had not kind of lost our membership muscle. It had atrophied, in my opinion. So we weren't bringing in new companies and new blood at the rate you need to. You've got to be sustaining that. And our membership team, Joshua Runyon and Christy McCurdy, Stephanie Phillips, I mean, we had set a goal, they achieve it. We raise a goal, they achieve it. I mean, this year
they're good.
We're double what we set as a goal, and so that gives us the ability to have not only resources but more companies in the game of being our partners. So that's one specific. The second is what we've done collectively with Plan RVA, the Community Foundation of Richmond, United Way of Richmond, and Richmond Memorial Health Foundation. The 5 of us have been working together for over 4 years now on how do we move the region together collectively. So it's a regional perspective, and we've come through this funnel where now we know we've got to have affordable housing, we've got to have better workforce outcomes, we've got to have better health outcomes. That's the first 3 big buckets we're working on. And we're modeling some of this work after some things Charlotte did starting back in 2013. And they've seen their economic mobility actually go up. Charlotte has. We're not going up yet, but if we incorporate the learnings that they've gone through and what we can get from the Urban Institute and others that have looked across the country, we think we can help individuals and families have a better economic mobility than they've had in the past. Every young person that comes out of Richmond Public Schools or the eastern side of Henrico, the eastern side of Chesterfield, who have not had economic opportunity, it's on us to give them that. We can't assume or we can't continue to allow just because of where they were born that determines their livelihood. And so we're working really hard to say, how do you get better, workforce and educational outcomes? I mean, I got lucky in that I had people around me that understood college, and they got me into the door. And then I took it from there. But if you don't know how to go to college, you don't know how to go to Bright Point or Reynolds Community College, you don't know how to go to an apprenticeship program, then you're going to get through high school and go, now what? And you go work at a place that you're simply getting maybe a small wage, a small paycheck. It may be a decent paycheck, but it's not a sustainable livelihood that you might want. So how do we keep giving young people more opportunity to touch, taste, feel, and make decisions that will impact them for decades and their families? So that's what keeps me up at night favorably, because I want to see more young people, and that it helps the region. If I'm making good money and I can have a family, other things don't happen. So it's society does improve when you raise the tide for all boats.
And how long have you been in ChamberRVA officially?
6 years next month, which is really a fast 6 years. But 1 year we don't count with COVID because everybody was in the same boat. But fast 6 years. But again, I think Richmond and ChamberRVA, again, thanks to our great team and our board, we're really positioned well for a good long run of making things really achievable for a lot. And that excites me. Yeah.
In the last 6 years, obviously, I'm sure there's been a lot of transition between COVID and economic impact. And obviously, Richmond's competing against cities like Charlotte and Austin and Tampa and all this stuff. What are some leadership lessons or a couple leadership lessons that you've learned in the last 6 years?
One that I think that I spend the most time is you never take yourself too seriously. I mean, I've been fortunate to have nice titles. I've been in good roles. I'm on a ton of boards. But when you start taking that stuff seriously, you quit I think focus on the important stuff. So I tell any leader, you're not that important. Thankfully, I've got a wife that also helps reinforce that. 'Cause, I can come home from a big meeting and just got appointed by the governor for this, and she just take the trash out. So I think if we can all keep a humility focused approach, that's one that I think makes you much more successful. Secondly, is never stop learning. I don't read as much of the educational stuff as I should because I do so much reading for work stuff that when I do get to read for fun, I read my kind of thing, which is military and spy and those kind of things. But you can't stop. I did 2 hours of how to make sure I don't screw up an email through a phishing exercise yesterday. I do read leadership information so that I'm never not staying fresh with how I can approach my employees and how our teammates and our board can be more collegial and more of a team rather than some hierarchical structure. We're not big enough for that. Third would be that I've been lucky, surround yourself with the best people you can. And when you don't have that, you can make changes without it being bad. You don't have to always let someone go. You can simply say, this is, one of us is not in the right seat or we don't have the right structure. So how do I help you, get to where you can be most successful? It might be you do this role for 2 or 3 months while we find a way that you can find something that more aligns with your priorities and your desires and things you want to do. So those 3 have worked for me pretty well. In the chamber business, the last one I'd say is when you get to a new community, nobody, nothing about the place, spend a lot of time quickly. I would meet with 100 leaders in 100 days so that I could get to know, one, what the key themes are, what do they see happening in the region or the city or community, and then I can then match that learning to the work we had to do at the chamber. So those have been things that helped me be successful.
100 leaders in 100 days.
It's not easy, but some of them are phone calls, some of them have coffee. Maybe. But if you just make it a priority and your board, a lot of times your chamber board's really easy. You get to those first 25 or 30 pretty quickly. Then you got to go see the mayor. But if you do that, you learn the themes in the first 20, and then you validate that those are the right themes over the next 80. Because there's really usually in any community 2 or 3 things that everybody's concerned about, excited about, or wanting to work on, and then you can just align your work to that rather than spending a year kind of just maybe going through the motions. I have a bias for action and urgency. I don't have time to.
The
older I get, I don't practice golf because I don't have time for practice. I got to go play. I don't have time. You just got to get. I think do the most you can quickly because in our work, it does affect people's lives.
Yeah. So I'm curious now on the flip side of the coin. You just said it, and we know that you meet with a ton of leaders, ton of entrepreneurs, business owners, managers, you name it. What are some leadership mistakes that you've noticed? And obviously don't single people out, but what are some leadership mistakes that you've seen in firms or businesses from the owners or entrepreneurs?
It's almost the flip of the first one is when you take yourself too seriously, when you think you're authoritarian or you've got the title, or you deserve whatever, you're going to become the kind of person nobody wants to work with or for. And I've seen a lot of leaders that just had terrible interpersonal skills or arrogance or ethical issues, and you may be successful for a while, depending on how you define the success. It eventually catches up to you. And it's out there. A second would be is that it's always about you rather than the organization. So you can make shortcuts. You can not treat your team well. And again, you might be able to accomplish a couple of things, but you're not going to have that long runway.
Yeah. Short-term gain, long-term pain.
Exactly. Arrogance is it's biblical, but it's true. If you pride and arrogance is probably the biggest downfall to most people that I've seen not do well long term, but yet it's easy to get caught up in. I'm a vice president, I'm this, or I got this, I'm on this board. Just keep that stuff in check and try to be the best person you can be, which can also make you a good leader in most cases. If you're not a good person, you're probably not going to be a good leader.
Yeah. So you just mentioned the word success, which is obviously one of the most vague words in human history. But I'm curious, how does Brian Anderson define success?
I can look back over specifically my 18 years in chamber, and I can see, this thing happened in that town. And I had a small role. I was a part of that either conversation, or I got to be a part of the fundraising or whatever. And that happened because of, I was in a moment. And it's seeing those things over time. It's not that we made budget. You should make budget. That's your job, is to make sure you've got the resources to run the organization. It's not, I got this title or this award. A lot of those, when you get to be my age, become legacy. We got to give it to him because he's getting old. I'd rather see my employees achieved this, my staff members, my colleagues. They achieved this because we created the environment for that to happen. Again, our salesperson, Dasha Runyons, came to us from tourism. She's now won 2 national awards because we empower her to go represent the chamber and try to bring more people into the work we do. It's not membership because we want to say we're a 1,000-member chamber, or we make $1.8 million in revenue. It's, are we bringing enough businesses into the family that can extend our work? So if I see our employees, our staff, our colleagues, and therefore our organization successful, then I feel like I've done something okay. Mm-hmm. But I don't have time to look back on yesterday. There's so much still ahead of us that we've all got to work on that I don't really have time to reflect on 2024, 2025, first 6 months. It's what we're going to do in 2026, 2027. Because there's a lot to do, and I'm getting older, so I don't have much time left.
Yeah, one of the best pieces of just business advice I heard probably a year ago is it's never try to focus on getting bigger. Always try to focus on getting better, because the more you try to focus on getting better as an organization and the people you serve, and that will fuel the growth in due time, not vice versa. And I think that's kind of what you guys are after too. It's like, let's get better and let's serve our members in a better capacity and add more value in these ways. Let's not just get bigger just to say that we're getting bigger.
Yeah, membership guys, I think we have Meet the Chambers. We do once a month, and I don't say it every time, but I usually will say, we'd love for you to be a part of what we do, but we're not going to twist your arm. We don't want a transaction. Because if you write us a check for $5 or $5,000, and at any point after that you feel like it was transactional or you got nothing for it, you're not going to be around. So we just wasted both of our time, our organization's time and maybe money. But if we can buy into each other's mission and we can support each other's mission, and you do invest at us at some level, we hope your benefits from that relationship are much more than any dollar you gave. And that's worked for us, and it's not just here, but it's worked for my career because I don't want a transaction. That's a one-time thing. If we can build a relationship and we can control in the sense of that we both are listening, we have an environment we know what we're both trying to accomplish, we're going to get further than you joined because it seemed like the right thing to do, or you had nothing better to do, or those just don't work. So I'm proud of our team and that we're adding members, investors, they're coming into the fold, and we're having less losses. We always have turnovers. Some business is going to go out of business, or they've had a tough time. They didn't have the business they need. So if we can focus on those things, we all win. And I think it makes our region stronger. We need strong local chambers. We need strong local economic development agencies, and we need the regional work we're all doing.
Mm-hmm. We've asked a lot of other past guests regarding a lot of them have said similar things about getting the right team in place and things like that. Do you have an approach and strategy used to help find the right people to join your team and things like that? What's that been for your experience?
We've tried it all, and not just here, but everywhere I've been. There's it changes. You can use LinkedIn and other type platforms. Word of mouth always helps in my work because we want to know the individual. There's not a lot of technical competency coming into the chamber. Most people aren't born membership people or born workforce development people or event plan. You can be an event planner maybe a little more, but it's really about relationships and how we're trying to accomplish something through some type of collaborative effort. So we take a lot of time, even through we get a lot of candidates, and if it doesn't have the right feel, even if it looks good on paper and they may have good interpersonal skills, if it just doesn't feel right, we'll keep looking. We've been more fortunate than not just in Richmond, but throughout my career. I've had great teammates and colleagues. But I think, Collins's book, Good to Great, talks a lot about that. And it's not just getting the right people, inside the bus, but it's in the right seat, because you may be a great person for all kind of reasons, but if the job that's open, the role that's open, doesn't fit your skill set, as close to perfection as possible, then there's going to be some you're not going to reach full competency or happiness or success. So work hard to make sure we've got good people in the job that we know they can do and what they want to do. And they also have some chance to grow. I mean, we do hire entry-level young people, and we want them to see the full breadth of chamber work, so they can say, well, I might be an event person today, but I want to aspire to be a workforce manager. So, and again, we also train a lot of good people that wind up working for our members, because they see business from a different perspective, and you may have somebody you need, and this person you've met them, and you steal them from me, and that's okay too. If everybody wins at the end, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's so interesting too how businesses approach hiring, just in general, because we work with a lot of different industries: nonprofit, white collar, blue collar, you name it. And some companies are resorting to personality test. Like having their finalist candidates take personality tests and feel or get a really good sense of where is their motivation lie. What do they want to do? What are they good at naturally from a personality standpoint? And I think it's always the $1 million question, because I think if you figured it out, you're going to do pretty well.
And I've seen both. You're right. And large companies are much better at it probably than a chamber like us. But it's an investment to do those, the time. And then I've also seen that all the boxes got checked on the assessments and still didn't work. So we work hard to go through a pretty good interview process. And then once we hire somebody, we're doing a better job of some of those diagnostics after the hire, from Briggs and Myers, Myers-Briggs, DISC, Leadership 2.0. There's a lot of different versions. We probably do DISC universal. Everybody does it, so we know how different people operate, and that does help, because it not only helps refine that, are you in the right seat, but how do you and Brian relate to each other? Because it may be we just are talking a different language. We've got to learn to modify that a little bit. Yeah. So I think any way you can work, anything you can use to help all of us get in there. I mean, I was in the wrong seat in the beer business. I did not like the work. I was good at it, but I didn't like it. So going to work every day was not inspiring. I wasn't engaged, wasn't energized. I did what I had to get by. And then again, I've joked that people talk about God closes the door, He opens a window, and all that. He opened the door, put my head in it, and slammed the door on it to say you don't need to be here. Because if they'd have kept me in a similar role, I'd have probably stayed on being miserable. But being forced to have to go do something different got me where I think my career up to that point led me to be a potentially decent chamber executive. And I've loved to work ever since.
I've been building this at FilmSpire, just thinking recently about, continuing to grow my team and things like that. And I think there's something truthful about businesses. It's not only like how you or what you do, what you offer, the services you provide, but it's like how you do it, and really how you work as a team to do that. That matters almost more sometimes than like the actual work you do, but like how you will interact, how you'll communicate, address mistakes, things like that. Like, has that kind of been true for your experience? Just like that's kind of getting on just building a good culture.
And culture's because it changes every time there's a new person. Every time there's a change in personnel, no matter how big or small. If you're big, it's a little less because one person out of 5,000 doesn't change. But in our case, one person can make a big difference, additive or subtractive. And so we do work on culture. But I think it starts with the leader, with me. I've got to set a tone that there's things like we're not going to tolerate unethical behavior. We're not going to tolerate any kind of demeaning or not being kind to one another. If you do those kind of basics, then the other stuff will happen. How much you do in the community service space. So even though we do community work every day, we've gone to Tool Bank and washed tables for a half a day as a team building. We've picked up trash on the James River because it's not the activity you're doing. It's what am I learning about you as you and I pick up trash, talking about golf or football or church or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, we go to our office, we do our work, and we go home.
Yeah.
And so I think you have to do those extra things. We're taking people. More of our staff are going to more things like our inner city visits, a big undertaking. To manage 200 people in a city you're going to, we used to take 6 staff members, and that was a lot. And now we take 8, and we rotate that by every 3 years. Every staff member is going on a inner city trip. I'm going to a state conference today. I'll have 2 staff members, colleagues, go with me so that they can get the same professional learning that I'm going to get. So I think you're right. I think some companies are really good at it, some fake it, and some don't do it at all. And I think you can look at the business metrics and show that if you do culture and those things well, it also shows up in your success or your results.
Yeah, and it's like that. The statistic I hear a couple times, and I don't know officially how accurate it is, but I've heard it multiple times from different leaderships and executives, and like 70% of people fire their boss. Right? Don't leave the company, essentially. Or 70% of people leave the boss instead of leaving the company or something like that. But how true that is, how true like a good leader can be additive or a bad leader can be subtractive.
In the military, you joke about it. If you got a bad commander, don't worry about it. They're gone in 2 years. Because in the military, you're constantly moving people around different units. But in a business or a nonprofit, you could have a bad relationship, both colleague or manager, until somebody deals with it. And I learned early that if there's a bad situation, it's best just to pull the Band-Aid and deal with it, because you're only hurting everybody else by letting that situation stay where it is. It's not easy on anybody, but if it's a toxic or not good situation, you're not doing anything by holding on to the bad. Just cut bait and get on with it. But then try to learn from that. I mean, the first time I had to let someone go, it bothered me immensely. I called my manager, and he said, you've known this needed to happen for a long time. How much longer did you penalize your other good workers by letting that situation stay? And I said, so I don't enjoy it to this day. I will worry about it if anytime something has to happen. But I try to think about those that benefit because we made a change rather than protecting that one individual.
Yeah. Leadership's
tough.
It is tough.
It's not easy.
How about some fun questions?
I love these fun questions. You want to kick us off?
Richmond is a great restaurant city. So we want to know, what is your favorite? Do you have a go-to restaurant that you love in Richmond?
If I would do this city dishonest if I said just once. I'm gonna give you 3. When I'm in downtown, which is a lot, Lily Pearl is just one of my favorites. There's just so many good ones, but I just love the environment, love their food, their service. When I'm in Midlothian, where I live, it's Midlothian Chef's Kitchen.
Ooh.
It's a phenomenal.
It's really good.
The service, the food, the atmosphere, and so those are kind of the 2 that I eat a lot of meals in my car, which is not good. So I won't mention any of those. But that's one of the calling cards of Richmond is, and it's been that way for a long time. It just keeps getting better. Is we've got really good choices for eating out. It's showing up. So I have to walk and play as much golf as I can to work off the stuff I eat.
Yeah, there's so many good restaurants. Exactly. Churchill, downtown.
Yeah, just throw a rock and you're gonna. But that's great. I mean, you need things to differentiate you from other places, and I think our outdoor environment, the James River, our climate. I mean, you can do anything here easily 10 months a year.
Yeah,
some would say 12. I'm not going to play golf when it's 30.
No.
But this is a great, moderate climate. Love the outdoors. We're on the Eastern Seaboard, but then you add the food scene, and how can you not want to be here?
Yeah. So if you weren't at ChamberRVA, what would you be doing?
Another tough one.
Probably
my wife will throw a rock at me if she hears this. Probably would run for office again for 2 reasons. It's honorable work, not honorable. It can be honorable work if you do it right.
Yeah.
And it's needed. You can't run a society without a democratic process. And we aren't getting our best and brightest right now.
Yeah.
So that's why we have a lot of problems at state, local, and federal level. So probably would run for office. If not, I'd go back and redo. I'd get rid of I'd purge those labor days of when I was pushing concrete and consider construction. I'm envious of my construction friends who get to see things they build. And I just, my work, even when I was in the beverages, I mean, you sell 1 million cases of something, and on January 1, you start over.
Yeah.
I work at the chamber. I do get to see things eventually, but it's a long runway to see this thing got done because of something I did. But probably construction or I used to think I want to be a lawyer, but I hear that you do a lot of reading and writing, and I don't want to sit in an office and read and write all day. So
No,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I like running an organization. Being running an organization so that I can put my fingerprints on hopefully things that are doing well and help people in the process. I hope our staff, my colleagues, my teammates feel like I'm helping them be better by the work I do.
Yeah.
So they can be successful.
Well, we have 2 final questions for you.
Uh-oh.
The first one, you want to do the nonprofit, and I'll do the Basios.
We always ask every guest what's a local nonprofit that they support because we want to make a small contribution to that. But I think it's
ooh, I'm gonna make somebody mad.
Yeah, you might.
I'm on a number of boards. I'm gonna give you 2 because you can decide if you want to. They both need early childhood development's very critical. I'm on the thought-provoking board, and we've done a lot of work in our region through this entity that's only now probably 18 months old, thought-provoking. So there are some ways that you can contribute to help either educational efforts and or actual slots. The other is the Lewis Botanical Garden, and it's nothing against our other cultural and arts facilities. Many of them are doing very well. Lewis Ginter is a 500,000 guest a year enterprise. They do a lot with education. They're going through a capital campaign to add $30 million of new stuff, including the conservatory being doubled. So those are 2 that, being on the board, I see the work they do, and they're just great amenities for our region. And we're lucky. I mean, we're 44th largest region in the country, but we have the 7th best botanical garden in the country.
Yeah.
Pretty strong.
The
4th best VMFA, Fine Arts Museum in the country. So, again, fortunate to have the blessings we have, but we got to all keep making them better. But those 2 are very, very passionate about both of those.
Good picks.
Yeah,
Good
great
picks.
organizations.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap it up here. Last question we wrap up for every guest is from the Virginia Council of CEOs.
Yeah. Do good work.
Yeah, they do. And the question is, as a leader, it can be lonely at the top. How do you deal with that?
I've been fortunate. Now, this is not the case. I mean, if you're in the CEO role, you don't have a boss necessarily to go to like you do if you're not the CEO. So that's been again for 18 years. I've had to have other CEOs that are not on my board or in my line of work that I can reach out to. So sometimes they are my colleagues around the country who lead chambers. So I will counsel with them. We have a convention every summer for our national association, and I've got 3 good friends that run chambers other places that we use those 3 days as counseling and lifting each other up. But I've also had good board members that even though in some cases they've been my boss as my chair, but I could rely on them and go to them with difficult things, whether it be personal and or related to the organization. But I think you have to have that. You got to have a network. And again, I love the work that the Virginia CEOs do because it gives other CEOs and key leaders a chance to come together, build relationships outside of maybe even outside their industry, so they can have that touch point to say, I'm struggling with this. I'm going to this thing tonight for the next couple of days, so that I'm going to learn a lot through the sessions. So there may be a young first-time CEO of a chamber who might want to ask me something because it's non-threatening. They're in Luray, they're in Charlottesville, they're in wherever, and they may want to just get my perspective on what'd you do the first 100 days. And they can say, well, here's what I did. It may not work for you, but here's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Being able to give back is just as important as being able to go to people and ask, how can you help me with that?
Yeah.
That's great.
Love that.
Brian, if people wanted to connect with the chamber, become a member, what's the best way to just get connected with you guys?
I mean, the website's got all of our contact information, ChamberRVA.com. we've got our board list, we've got our staff list, list all the work we're doing. Call me. I meet with people all the time because I think it's important. So if there's something I can do to help you with your business itself, if it's to help you connect as a leader, we do that every day. And so love to hear from anybody that might think we as an organization can help them achieve what they want to achieve, whether it be a nonprofit leader, a business leader, otherwise, we're happy to help.
Yeah,
that's great.
Well,
all the information is published.
Absolutely. Well, we've loved having you.
Yeah.
This has been fun. I really appreciate y'all having me, and thank you for the work you're doing. I mean, having these kind of conversations for people to enjoy as they drive around or sit at home, go for a run or a walk is important. And so thanks for the service you're bringing.
Heck yeah.
And the benefits work. That's
you know it.
Very critical, too.
Absolutely.
Try
Brian,
to fight the good fight.
Brian, thanks for joining, man. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks.